The Nintendo 3DS arguably has one of the biggest homebrew communities out there, with the first exploit being discovered just 1 year after its release date in 2011. But now that it's been 14 years of the 3DS's release date, the modding community has definitely come a long way. But wait, what is homebrew? Homebrew, also known as homebrewing, is basically another word for modding and hacking a system to run your own code and programs. Homebrew communities usually consist of some pretty cool and passionate developers. If you're gonna run Homebrew on your Nintendo 3DS, you obviously need to mod it first. Don't worry, it's really easy, and all you need is a computer. The steps are pretty simple, just drag some things to your SD card, run some apps, press some buttons, and you should be good. But in all seriousness, if you use some outdated YouTube video, it's pretty easy to just mess up the 3DS and make it entirely unusable while homebrewing it. So I suggest you read the guide on 3ds.hacks.guide, as it's usually gonna be up to date. And I'll have that linked in the description if you're interested. You just homebrewed your 3DS. Great, but now what? There's a lot of stuff you can do to a modded 3DS, but personally the first thing you should install is FBI Manager and Universal Updater. FBI is a lightweight but advanced file manager for the 3DS, and the main thing is that it can install games to your 3DS and remotely connect to your computer. This is nice for new 3DS users since the SD card is locked up behind its backplate, which requires a screwdriver. Thanks, Nintendo! Universal Updater is similar to that as well, but it's basically the eShop for homebrew software. You can easily install software without having to put your SD card into a computer, downloading some random files off the internet, and overall, it's just really easy to get homebrew software, and this is how I got most of the homebrew software I'll talk about in this video. Another necessity is Pretendo Network. Basically, it's a service that provides online services for your 3DS, but I'll get more into that later. Apart from the basic utilities, there are some really cool things you can do with your 3DS. One of them is the Anemone Theme Manager. Anemone allows for you to download custom themes onto your 3DS from the website called the Theme Plaza. You can also make your own too, like I did, and you can apply it onto your 3DS. Personally, I find this really cool since you can do anything you want with your 3DS home screen and really bring out your personality. And speaking of customization, there's CTGP7 for Mario Kart 7. I personally don't play CTGP7 that often, but let me tell you, this mod pack is awesome. You can do pretty much anything with it as long as you know how, obviously. But from what I know, you can do custom maps, install game improvements, and add characters and custom cars. Imagine Peter Griffin driving a toy car in Green Hill Zone. Another great homebrew project is Pretendo Network. Like I said earlier, Pretendo Network helps provide the online services for the 3DS, some of which include online play, the friends list, and my personal two favorites, Miiverse and Street Pass Relay.
Whoa, wait a minute, what's Street Pass Relay?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Widget. Street Pass Relay was a feature where you could get Street Passes through Nintendo Zone, but the people at Pretendo reworked it so you could get Street Passes over the internet with people in your friends list or people you play with online. Anyways, the people at Pretendo are doing really good work at making the 3DS feel alive. It's pretty easy to install, and you can follow their guide at their website that I'll have linked in the description below. A great quality about the 3DS is that it's amazing emulation. For my testing, 3DSs run so many retro games as if they were intended to run on a 3DS. Well, most of them are intended to because of Virtual Console, and there are many ways to play those retro games using Homebrew. My go-to is RetroArch, as it tends to be the all-in-one emulator, but the 3DS starts to lag more with the N64 and PS1. I mean, I guess they are pretty hard to emulate. But something interesting about the 3DS is that I can actually natively run GBA games, since it's built off the original Nintendo DS, which is probably why GBA games run pretty well. But overall, the 3DS is a nice place to start a retro game library and play them. Oh, and speaking of Nintendo games, Homebrew can be a real lifesaver for your game library. With Checkpoint, another great Homebrew utility, you can back up your game save data. This is especially useful for physical games, as you never know when your save data just suddenly gets corrupted. And there's, the Salty 7 Seas pirating. It's surprisingly easy to just download totally legitimate content for the 3DS through the 8 shop. It's entirely up to you if you're fine with pirating, but personally, I'm not. I like having a game library that I bought myself that isn't just pirated off of someone else's copy of the game. But if a game has a ridiculous price, like Rhythm Heaven Fever for the Wii, I would pirate it, because it's so expensive. But overall, right now is the best time to mod your 3DS, as you'll be able to get so much more out of it and use it as if it was still 2015. And I only covered the tip of the iceberg with the 3DS modding, as there is a lot more to it, like amiibo hacking, other ROM hacks for games, and even a web server host for the 3DS. Crazy, right? Anyways, that's all for me. See ya!